Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast brought to you by Tacticam. Tacticam is by far the easiest way to begin filming your hunts. Whether it's the 4K 5.0 or the budget-friendly solo, Tacticam has something for everyone. Check them out at tacticam.com. This year we're also working with Spartan Forge. Spartan Forge is machine learning for the deer woods. Basically, Spartan Forge takes collared deer studies, insurance car deer accident information, social media geolocations, and it couples that with weather, moon phase, and rut activity to tell you when or when not to be in the woods. This currently has an online interface at spartanforge.ai, but the app is currently being built and set to launch late summer. Once the app goes live, you can expect there to be a price increase, but if you use code BOWHUNTER, you can save 25%, and that will stick with you as long as you use the Spartan Forge services. So head on over to spartanforge.ai and get your free 14-day trial. So I forgot to mention it on the last podcast, but we are giving away a bow. That's right, we're giving away a brand new 2021 Carbon Zion from Bowtech. And we came out of pocket with our friends at Johnson's Great Outdoors to give that back to you guys, the listener. So all you have to do is go to our website, our Instagram, click on the link, it says win a bow. And that's going to come with a single pin HHA Tetra, and we're really excited about that. That came from HHA. Chris Ham over there hooked us up with a sight as well as a rest. So this bow is going to be ready to rock, and we're giving it away. You don't have to be a Patreon. Patrons are entered in. They're going to have additional entries, of course, but all you have to do is sign up, and you'll be in the running. There's literally like 200 people that are signed up, so very good odds for those of you that are interested. And like I say, we just can't thank you enough. This show wouldn't be made possible without our Patreons. So we've created an incredible group of people that support the show. We've got a Patreon, Marco Polo group, and that group, I mean, there's a lot of great information being shared on there. It's just built a community just for the Patreons. And Patreon is a crowdfunding for creators. And basically, it just helps us continue to produce the show every week with hosting fees and everything that goes into putting this podcast together, equipment, all of that. And it's like 17 cents a day to support us. And for that, we give you, I mean, we send out a swag pack. Like this next podcast that's coming up is directly from the Patreons. They said, hey, this is who you want to hear. This is the discussion that we want you to have. And with every one of those packages I send out to the Patreons, and I really do mean it, that this is your show. So they support us, and we're doing everything that we can to give them the best content possible. And if you want to support us through the show, you can just go to patreon.com/Bowhunter Chronicles podcast, or click the link on our website, bowhunterchronicles.com, or on Instagram. When you're signing up for that bow, you can just click the Patreon link and get signed up there as well. In addition to the swag packs, we do quarterly giveaways for our Patreons. And this quarter, we are giving away from Tacticam. Tacticam's giving away a fisheye camera package. And the fisheyes are great. Frank and Ernie just used them. You'll hear a little bit about that on this podcast. We used them for turkey season. Those wide angles are incredible. It offers adjustable or additional lenses that you can add to them to change the width. They work right with the remote, whereas the Solo doesn't. It's a nice budget wide angle option compared to right now the only wide angle option is the wide, which is the same price as the 4K camera. So I really like the fisheye option added to the lineup. They've been working great for us, and they're giving away a set of those. We have purchased one of Dan Infalt's Beast stands, so we're waiting for that to come in, and we're giving that away. We're excited to see it. We got to see it in person when we went and did his scouting seminar. But we picked one of those up, wanted to have one of the first run. And we're going to give that away to one of the Patreons. Base Map. So we work with Base Map, and I can't say enough good things about the price of it. I mean, Base Map is giving away one of their pro packs. So that's the entire country, every single state, a swag pack, shirt, hat, all of that. Tons of layers. It really helps when you're e-scouting, when you're going out of state. It's got fishing maps, everything on there, and the price is just incredible. It's $30 a month if you were just going to buy it, which is as much as one state costs for a lot of the other ones that are out there. But we also have a code, and you can use that code to save 20%, so it ends up being $2 a month, so $24 on the year. And if you're not using mapping software, you certainly need to be, but Base Map, that value is just incredible. So they're giving away one of those swag packs. You heard us talk about Spartan Forge. Spartan Forge is they're giving away a year subscription, and that app is like ready to launch. They've released screenshots. Bill's got it on his phone right now. They're doing the infant beta testing right now. So it's out there. It's being tested, and it is coming. And when it does, the price is going to go up. So if you get in right now, your price isn't going to go up for the entire time that you use their service. So year over year, it's going to be the same price as it is right now. But they're giving away one of their subscription packages, and you guys are really going to be excited about that once it comes out. I'm looking forward to it. The app looks amazing. And then our friends at Zinger Fletchings, just some great guys, 3D printed compression fit fletchings, and they're giving away a set of those. And all that's for our Patreons, and we can't thank them enough. So, those are one of the other benefits of signing up for Patreon. This podcast just goes through our turkey season, our failures, our successes. And while we may not have harvested a turkey yet, we've had a ton of opportunities and had a ton of fun, and I hope that comes through. I know you guys are going to love this episode. Thanks for riding it out with us. This one's for the true fans who really care about us and want to hear how we're doing, and we can't thank you enough. Enjoy the episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bow Hunter Chronicles podcast. We should start calling this the Missing Turkeys podcast, starring Adam and Frank and John. John missed a turkey.
Yeah, I did.
So we're going to get into that about our turkey season scheduling and faux pas and all of that. But Frank and Ernie just got back from Saginaw Bay for some walleye fishing. And Ernie, somebody got a little wet. What happened?
Oh, the only thing that's really sad about that is I actually didn't see it happen until I walked up on the dock and all the water was on the dock right underneath him.
So, how'd that transpire?
I can't believe you brought it up so soon.
Frank,
Why wait?
Frank, you're having a problem with H2O lately, aren't you?
Yeah,
Either you're in it or it's in you.
right.
Well, Christopher wasn't there this year, so somebody had to take his place.
Well, and the thing is, what I was trying to explain to Adam earlier today is as you increase in age, you're a lot wiser. I've been like the soothsayer for a long time. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden it turns into just I'm the soothsayer of stupidity, So I mean, it seems like, and I talked to somebody the other day about it too, and I said I think it's just these little brain farts you get as you get older. You tend to forget what you're doing sometimes. No, I just Ernie put the boat in, and took the trailer up into the parking lot, and the nice guy that I am, I thought I'll just put the motor down, which I was standing on the dock, put the motor down. And then I was going to start the motor. Well, you got to put your feet on the gunnel or your knees on the gunnel, reach over the steering wheel because it's on the opposite side. The key's on the other side. And as I did that, it was fine. I turned the key on and had to hold the windshield with one hand and the side of the boat, I guess, with the other when I come back. And went to put my feet down. Well, the boat had moved away from the dock a ways, and there was no dock left there. So I'm hanging, I'm hanging in midair, and there was a lot of language going on and stuff, and the boys were all wondering what the hell was going on back there in the parking lot. Pretty soon there was 3 or 4 of them come up and got a hold of me. Well, the problem was, as they pulled me back in the boat back to the dock, there was a post in the middle of my back, and they couldn't get me up, So, and Dan Wilkes said that he says, I can't believe how long you held your feet up in the air, he says. And then it slowly went down in the water, both legs, you know what I mean? And finally I'm going, like, Jesus Christ. I said, how many of you motherfuckers got a hold of me? I said, pull me out,
Well, said,
just stand up.
Straighten your legs out and walk into shore.
He's telling me to stand up, but I can't tell, I didn't know how deep that water was, and I'm not going all the way to my, my nuts,
Did it ever occur to you to, like, get in the boat and just drive it back and then pull it back
No,
up there?
that wasn't happening, dude. The weight was already back,
Well, he had the line. We have a line all pre-made that just flips over 2 poles. So it's only going to move out about
far enough to
15 inches.
Yeah, get my goddamn body in there.
So when he went down, the feet, nope, no dock. Well, I heard this screaming, and I was taking a leak behind the portable because I didn't really want to go inside. And I heard the screaming, and because Ed had launched his boat, there was a bunch of people on the dock, both of our boats. So, hell, I've heard him holler all the time. I didn't pay no attention to it. So I turn around and look, and those guys are laughing like crazy. And I went up there, and there's a big puddle of water under Frank. And I go, you fell in, didn't you?
Actually, no, I didn't really fall in. I lowered myself in.
Well, careful.
It just dangled.
Yeah. I was like, what do they call it? Jigging myself?
And then he had this, the warm gear underneath there.
Oh, shit.
His pants.
Had my teddy bear pants underneath, man. And
you might as well wear a huge sponge.
The water went down about 3 inches around the dock area there. It sucked so much up into my pants.
There was a lot of water on the dock.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of water in my rigging there,
Shoes.
Did it wick all the way up to your ass after?
No, it just wicked to my knees, and that's where it stayed, And then I had remember the insulated pants that your dad used to wear, the camel ones? Well, I had those kind of on the outside, so it was, there was plenty of water consumed right there, as far as, at the dock.
Yeah, my wife called. I'm standing there, and she's like, "Have you talked to my dad today?" No. So, yeah, he fell in the water. I'm like, what? Because in last year they had a guy fall into what's the section?
That was back by the motor.
The section between the motor and the end of the boat.
Yeah, the washout.
Yeah. He fell in there and was floundering.
Well,
wrestling a catfish.
He was wrestling a catfish with the hooks in his hand. He had the hooks from the lure in his hand through his finger, and then he went backwards, with the fish, and he's back by the motor back there,
He couldn't let go of the fish.
Couldn't let go of the fish, you know what I mean? He's
pretty much tied to it.
He was screwed,
So when she said that somebody fell in the water, like that's.
Oh, you thought I went out of the boat when we were out there fishing? No, I didn't. No.
And I'm thinking of the story of your buddy there, like, who John plows the driveway, where his boat's circling around him, and
TK.
So how was the fishing?
Not bad. The wind was the worst thing. I mean,
we
got blown off.
2
We
days.
couldn't even fish Friday. Saturday we went out in the morning, got 4 and got blown off. Tried to go down to Saginaw on
Same day.
same day. That didn't work.
Oh, it was like you have never seen it so angry down there. I mean, it was like when we came out of the Saginaw River, we went out behind Dump Island there, and there was what, a couple 100-yard area where it was
flat enough to fish.
Flat enough to fish, and then the rest of it was just
angry.
Ugly, man.
And you're only a mile and a half probably.
Yeah.
And you come around the island, and the wind is picking up around the island, making a vortex. There's like 5-footers right there.
Oh, yeah. Right there in the shipping channel.
Put the nose into it.
Oh, it was bad.
All the way in. And the wind was coming offshore there.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
So that was Saturday, right? Then Sunday.
We got up.
Oh, Sunday was when we.
Better.
Yeah.
We got 8 fish before we got too rough.
Was it
Monday we got 13. Monday was fishable all day.
What day did you go swimming?
the first day we were there? dude?
No.
No.
That was cold. You
It
went
was-
Sunday
it-
morning.
Yeah. I let it go a couple days, I guess.
Monday we launched in Au Gres.
Right.
But I just wanted to give the people what they want. You know, they want more
They-
Uncle
they
Frank.
want- yeah,
and
they want the-
that's. I mean, the thing is,
Uncle Frank's
Where-
Follies.
we're here to say like what not to do. We do the same sort of stuff.
Well,
and
he has another
just-
small story.
just happened to be your time.
So you want me to tell them that now?
Hey, hit it.
You're on a
This
roll.
is a
That's what.
this
Hit
is
it,
the,
water boy.
Another one of those brain farts.
safety alert.
This is more. This
Don't
is more
do
a
this
safety.
at home.
This is-
Safety to you guys out there. You know, this is a not to do thing. Okay, all my life I've been around power equipment and everything else. You know, big trucks, everything. So my wife wants me to power wash underneath the porch on the front of the house. You know, underneath the patio there. So I get the power washer out the other day and got everything ready. I start power washing a little bit, you know, and it's not really taking this stuff off, you know. And so I says, "Do you have any like awesome or something we can put in the reservoir?" So she gets me a jug of this stuff, and I dump it in. Somehow I get some shit on my fingers, you know. And here's the part that you don't do. I'm thinking, I'm just going to clean my fingers off, so I stick it in front of the frickin' nozzle on this gun, and I pulled the trigger. And I'm not shitting you. You have never experienced pain like that before in your life. My finger turned into an instant yellow sausage. I'm not shitting you, didn't it? I showed you guys the picture. It was like wild. I mean, it was like you laid your finger on an anvil and just bam, hit it with a hammer. That's what it felt like. And my wife comes out of the house. She hears this
Naughty words.
cursing. Oh my God! There was children. They were pulling them out of yards down the block. You know. Oh, get the kids! And oh my God, something happened at the Ackerberg. You know. It was like it was crazy. You know, their horses were running around and stuff. And I says, she goes, "Did you pinch your finger?" I said, "No, I didn't pinch my fucking finger. I just shot that son of a bitch with a goddamn power washer." You what?
That's the words we're talking about.
So I called you right after it happened,
Right.
and I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" "Oh, I fucked up today. You won't believe what I just did." And he said, and you were like, "I was power washing." And as soon as you said I was power washing, I was like, "Oh shit, here it comes." And I'm like, I think it says it's like right on big lettering, do not spray yourself.
Shoot yourself.
Oh,
do
yeah,
not spray
yeah,
your
yeah.
skin.
Well,
Or anyone else.
I think even the air compressors say that. Don't even use the air compressor on your skin because you can inject that in you. The fact that, like I've sprayed myself, hit myself with the wand as you're like going by, like hit your foot or something. And I've never been injected, but to point it and pull the trigger after it's built up all the pressure. Because when
right in front of the
John,
nozzle.
it wasn't in front of it, and it was point blank. It was up against it. It was up against it, man. I put it right up there and just
Well, it
pulled
had
the
nowhere
trigger.
else to go
I guess-
except
no
in your
shit
finger.
in it, you know.
if you're gonna be dumb, you better be tough.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, you know. And then it was like, my God, what have I done? You know, I looked at that, and it hurt so bad, man. And I'm sitting, and you couldn't even. It was solid. You couldn't bend it. I couldn't bend it with my hand like this on this side. You know, it was crazy, dude.
Some hydraulic pressure.
Oh yeah, it was just like. And then I asked Adam. I says, "Well, do I need to like drill some holes in it, to relieve the pressure?" He goes, "No." He said, "That's fluid." He said, "Your body's all fluid. It'll absorb it." I said, "Oh, that'll probably get it cleaned out with that awesome cleaner in there too."
Well, that's what I was going to say is I had a phone call or a text that said, "Something's happened. Call me as soon as you can." And I'm like, "Oh my God, like what's going on?" And he's like, "Oh, you're not going to believe this. Like I did this. Like, what should I do?" And I'm like, "Go to the emergency room." And then he's like, "Well," and I was like, "Well," and then much like John getting stitched up by my brother, I texted my brother and, we worked it out. And
Well, that's why I told him, like, call Adam, or talk to Dustin.
I'm like, Within 15 minutes, I had him on the phone with a doctor and an ortho consult, and then we got a prescription called in
Right.
to take care of it. But, I mean, everybody that wasn't Frank was thinking, like, we were worried about compartment syndrome, where there's too much pressure built up and damages tissue. But, like, he's like, can I just, like, stick it with a needle and will the water come squirting back out? Like, no, it doesn't work that
I'll
way.
just shoot it again.
It doesn't work that way.
At least it was water and not hydraulic fluid like oil.
Yeah, so that's a little tip for you guys out there.
Public service announcement.
Don't even think about that horse shit there.
Don't shoot your finger and keep both feet on the dock.
That's right.
I still can't believe you didn't just jump in the boat. Like, I mean,
No, it was Adam. You don't know how it happened. See, when I came,
off.
I was hanging with my knees on the gunnel, and then when I went back like this, and I started putting my feet out.
You're lucky you didn't break the windshield.
Yeah, I know. Woke said, Frank, I couldn't get your hand off the windshield. He said, there was so much pressure on your hand.
There's probably some freaking fingerprints.
There's probably
embedded
fingerprints
into
right into the mold.
glass.
You got to look at that.
so that's what these boys have been up to. For us, again, we did all of our turkey seasons right at the same thing, and we'll get to my hunt because it's just like I just have to apologize to John. That's all I do. It's like I need to just be the
you don't have to
cameraman.
apologize because it was.
It was a lot of fun.
I had a blast.
It was a lot of fun, but it's like I can't. I don't understand.
Here's the thing, though. When me and Ernie made a video of Adam setting the decoys too close, right? Remember when we did that? And it was that close, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
or closer.
It was that close.
It was that close. The ones that I scared away with the coffee cup were me to you away.
Yeah,
and like if Frank extended his hand, I could touch him.
Yeah, he could touch me.
So
fat finger right here.
Yeah, the coffee cup.
That one's easier to touch.
So we have to
now.
we have to blame like our Patreons and shit for that, or the Marco Polo, because that's what you were sitting there.
I was like live streaming the
hunt.
turkeys coming in, and I'm like, oh, here they come again.
Like, here they come right
So
here.
I just set my phone down and
clink.
But hey, we'll get to that. But I just want to so we'll start out with you guys hunting and kind of like your thoughts on the way that we kind of scheduled everything. Because I mean, I would rather I want to hunt differently, I think. But anyways,
More effectively, you mean? Or
no, I've said it a lot. Like,
Just get a gun.
Yeah, you just get a gun or a ball bat would have worked out.
Yeah.
well, that was the thing is like those turkeys were close enough that with that longbow I could have like gave them the old like the hook.
Hook
Get
it
off the stage.
Yeah, I could have grabbed him.
Sheep hook 'em. No, I talked to Frank about this exact thing. I said, I think we kind of goofed up, all four of us being in the first season.
Yeah.
If we split up, we double our money on time.
Yeah.
So it's pretty hard, especially for you.
Yeah,
you
I
only
gotta work.
You had a couple days to hunt, and that was it.
Yeah.
But I like when I got to work the next day, and 2 days later, and I'm telling them like what happened. They're like, "Did you get a turkey?" Like, no. But I epically failed. But that was, I think I'd go into it with that mindset. So maybe I'm already,
Defeated yourself.
Yeah, I'm going at it with the wrong thing. But changing the aspect of it is like I feel like I am an extremely good turkey hunter. Killer, not so much. Because I've had the opportunities.
Oh yeah.
Like without fail. But so like how did your guys' like from setup to like the whole works?
I'm not really sure because we put that new tent out there, and
so these are muddy, like the Infinity.
Yeah, and there's you can see what
180
degrees in these things,
or 270.
270. I think.
270, yeah, and not really sold on those. You know what I mean?
No.
They're
The
not
one,
dark
the one we
on
had,
the
the two
inside.
tents that we used last year were really dark.
Dark on the inside.
Dark on the inside. And you couldn't see in them tents, And I just don't know if that was it or if it was.
Well, when it gets to mine, it definitely, after I reviewed all the footage, like I could see the footage of me in the tent,
Oh yeah.
and when the inside footage shows me that I'm behind all of the, I'm even behind the screen, right? And then you can see the outside footage that shows, you can see me and then the bird, the big tom that was going over to the edge on closer to the water. I'm behind that. When I move, this is when he alarm puts. So he could see through the mesh.
See through the mesh, right?
And it's probably
Because the mesh was on front and back.
Both sides.
Yeah.
Right.
because it was because we use them kind of like as a diamond, so
Yeah.
we can shoot
Right.
instead of being
Right.
maybe the way that they're designed.
So where like I had used, my tent last year, I would have been fine because I wouldn't have been able to see him as good, but he definitely wouldn't have been able to see me. And
But-
so
but
I would have probably had a better.
And I noticed that too on your video, when I was
Yeah.
watching from the outside cameras.
Oh, you can see me in there
Oh,
moving.
Johnny's moving around. Like, hey, how's it going?
Right.
Give me a Coke, But we blacked mine out, didn't we, Aaron?
Yeah.
And it's still though.
Still ain't perfect.
It's not.
But it's
not,
a lot better.
It's a lot better, But we still had that one time, and I don't know if it was some decoys or what it was, man. This year, them first ones,
They don't like that tent.
them first big times, 5 come in?
Yep.
And it was like there was one hen with them. That wasn't distracting them any, and they kept looking at the decoys, but they never came no closer. They didn't do they didn't really strut over there too much. But as they walked off, they never alarm putted or anything. And every time I'd hit the call, they'd gobble. They'd still gobble. So I don't
Something
know.
they didn't like. We don't
Something
know
they
what it
didn't
is.
like. That could have been the tent that day, because that was the first day, wasn't it? Yeah, that was the day that Pocahontas left over there with a.
So like I said, I wanted to go from
Junior has a few less tail feathers. Let's put it that way.
but I want to say, from setup to ending, like, so you guys were hunting a little piece of private where Ernie shot his bird last year. Set up your tent the day or 2-3 days before,
it was quite a ways before.
and you had Chris with you,
Yeah.
filming, or he wasn't even filming; he was just hanging out behind you
Yeah,
guys.
he was enjoying it.
3 guys in the tent. You guys like to set your decoys out a little farther. So what was how?
We had him about 15 yards?
14, I think,
Yeah,
that
14
day.
yards.
Yes, we
The
like to
birds
put 'em
popped
close.
out at
Put him
25,
at
but
about
they
4.
popped out at 25. But as soon as they come out, the lead one, quit strutting, and he stood up,
Yeah.
turns his head sideways. He's looking it all over, so we don't know what that bird didn't like.
Now you had the big tom decoy too, though, right?
Yeah,
Not that morning.
Yeah.
Did we?
yeah, it's the only one we ever
Oh,
had.
that's right. We did.
Yeah.
And the problem was too, they where they came in from, they're right out in front of us off to the right, like, looking. Well, you can't draw the bow. I mean, they were in range right there, but you couldn't draw the bow. They're all looking, I guess, you know what I mean? Either,
One dark enough in there to draw that.
yeah,
bow.
and either if you draw the bow, like I told you, you're going to have that 2 to 3 seconds, you know what I mean? Just like with a gun, if you move, that those turkeys are they'll
Pop
look
their head up
and
and putt.
they might alarm putt, you know what I mean? They ain't gonna fly or run, unless you wing one at them, you know what I mean? So,
But I forgot what I was going to say. You guys, you're left-handed, so you guys, your video was like crossed up, because on your video it's like there's 5 turkeys right in the middle, and I'm going, why isn't somebody shooting? Well, the video's over here and
Right.
he's over
Right.
here, and he couldn't shoot that way.
Right.
And it wasn't, the camera wasn't behind you. You were side by side, and
right.
if Ernie would have had his bow or whatever, could have gave you the camera and he could have shot him.
Well, that's the same. That would have been the shot you would have taken, remember? When you tried to get your bow back? And it was like, same. It was the same.
we had him, and Chris in there, and of course it's across here now. Decoys are here, so I went to pull it like that, and I got locked up. I couldn't get out of the way of it, and then finally I got it back. But by then he had enough of that, and he just kind of walked off and
There was some.
gobbled.
Yeah, but he never alarm putted either, did he?
No,
No.
just didn't like what he's seeing.
Now that one I shot at
Mo,
alarm
Curly,
putted.
and
So back to
Joe.
that. So you got the birds come in,
So those 5 come in and left, and then
and this is opening morning.
yeah, and then we kept working some calls and stuff, and finally I said, I see a turkey out in the woods, way out in there, ahead, out in front of us, like, and I kept looking, and I said, one of them's got a red head. I said, it's redhead, so I just kept calling, not a sound. What did they? They didn't make a sound. They just all of a sudden, here they come. They're all working their way towards us, Well, then what? Three hens and 2 jakes over to our right.
yeah, they come around the corner.
Same place that the 5 came in.
The hens went up on the sand pile.
Well, then this other one comes right straight in behind the decoys. It's coming. Remember, like how them ones come in last year?
Mm-hmm.
When you and me were out there, John. Well, that one comes and he's right behind the decoys, isn't he?
Yep.
And it was a jake, but I was going to shoot him. I wasn't fooling around. So, but it was like, here he is. He's right in front of us. You know what I mean? And the decoys are in between us then, and so he's looking. And so there's no pulling the bow back, and he's kind of pacing back and forth, and he started gobbler clucking, he wants that hen to come to him, and finally, he turned and he started going towards the other turkeys then, but he was behind some brush and stuff. Well, then when he come out by that little 2-track over there, I had the bow back then, and I let her rip. And there was a lot of feathers went up in the air. You could have made a cochise.
How many tail
headdress.
feathers did you have on the ground?
There was probably 15 on the ground.
The poor dude.
And a whole bunch
Can't
of
steer no
And
more.
there was a lot of other
whole
feathers.
bunch of
too.
those little short downy looking.
Oh yeah, you could have made a headdress out of those, a really respectable one too.
I can't picture that bird trying to
No.
fly up that night.
He alarm putted, didn't he? Aaron?
Yeah,
Son of a bitch.
he didn't go very far.
Shot my tail.
No, he just went over there and he was kind of walking around in circles, going like, "What?
Oh,
what the hell?
shit.
What?"
It's because he lost his rudder. He couldn't steer.
He was perched like 3 feet off the ground. But that video is reminiscent of the first when you shot at the state
giant?
record
Oh yeah,
turkey.
Oh, pretty much
Yeah.
hitting the same spot. He got a
Yeah.
little more on this one.
yeah.
Well, the other one was like strutting, right? No,
No.
he just come down off of the strut. Yeah.
He was going right to the decoy.
But like you see this Jake come into the opening and then I mean there's like literally like a half of a second of video, like you can't, and you realize like what's going on, and then there she goes.
Oh, it's quick draw. You don't waste no time.
And so then you guys hunted the rest of the week, right?
Yep.
And
I called. That's when that big one come in, same spot. Remember
Well, he come across the road.
the
Oh, the one that I almost shot.
Yeah, the one that you were drawing on.
Yep.
He came from out in front
Right
of
down
us too.
that same old 2-track thing.
And then what was it? A day or two later, when we got the one come by the.
Oh, we moved the
Moved the tent.
That day we moved
yeah,
the tent.
we moved
brushed
the tent,
it in.
brushed it in, and then we went back. Did we go back the following day, or did we wait a day? It rained or something the one day, didn't it?
Yeah, it was cold. And
Cold, nasty or something. So then we went back over there again, got in the tent with a new setup, figuring, man, we got the side curtains in and everything,
Decoys 8 yards away.
Yeah.
But that's,
So-
you're using the,
Pulling a play right out of Adam's
Yeah,
book.
out of
the
Adam's
plastic
book,
bag
Yeah.
decoys. Though.
well, I mean, like our buddy Tom, they doubled up on some birds this year out of those exact same decoys, the foam, like, what do you call them? The
I call them the old shag.
shag nasties, yeah.
But that turkey came from across the road, and then I told Ernie, I said, I see him, he's coming.
He did the same thing the one I killed the previous
Yeah,
year did.
yeah. But when he came into that opening there, then, like, as soon as he got in that opening, because I'd seen him strut a couple times, and he was gobbling right along, wasn't he?
Mhm.
Coming in that opening, man, he went down. He seen them decoys, and he I don't know if he seen the tent, again. And then it was just, nah. Steady walking, wasn't he? He
Straight across.
just walked right straight across at 50 yards.
He's like, yeah, I know this. I know this game.
Yeah.
He's
Now
like,
that-
I
it
lost
could
a
have
couple
been
tail feathers to these guys.
no,
Weird.
no. This could have been the
This
bird.
was a big one.
This could have been
Real
the same
big.
bird though that came in on us. Remember when you tried to get the bow back?
Yeah, might have been.
It might have been the same bird. It was a dandy. It was a nice one.
We showed Johnny
I'm saying
that.
maybe it was the one that you shot a couple
No.
years ago and took a couple
Oh,
feathers off his
that
ass.
could have been too.
It's possible.
He's like, oh shit, not this again.
This guy? No, I when you were saying that, in the Marco Polo group for our Patreons, they were talking about how can you tell a Jake, and they were talking about the difference in the tail fan, like in the feathers when they strut up. Can you imagine what that bird looks like strutted up?
That's definitely a time. Look at them all that are missing on it.
Look like Michael Spink smiling.
But then the rest of the week was, and our seasons only last a week. Technically we're still in the game because we have 1 week, the first week of June.
Is that the week we go to?
No, it's before that.
Yeah, but isn't that the first weekend, or is it the second weekend?
It's officially the second weekend.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like
I think
11th.
we leave
I
on
think.
the 8th,
okay.
9th.
Oh, is it? So
Let me look.
we'll have that beginning of the week. We'll do that before we shoot our first course. We have to drive back.
We're leaving
here.
on the 10th, Thursday
you have to drive
night.
back.
No, I'm saying if we wanted to
Oh.
hunt.
So the first week of June though is our next
Yeah.
next opportunity to hunt.
So, John, you want to talk about our season and how we started that off?
Well, why me? What? You were the one hunting.
Because I like it better from your perspective, because for myself, I guess you pick out more of like the details that maybe I would leave out or anything like
Not
that.
So,
intentionally.
well, it's basically we did the same thing as we did last year. We went. Well, actually, no. We went, instead of doing public land first, we just went right straight to that little piece of private that I killed my bird on last year. And then you were using the longbow setup, but of course this year we didn't have 2 tents. Maybe that would have worked better.
Probably. I would add more room for my coffee cup.
Right.
Either we need to get you a rocking chair or something.
I fell out of the chair, Frank.
I understand that.
But so then we got all set up, same field, basically the same setup. I mean,
Tent was in the same spot.
yeah. And then we had the birds. We knew where the birds roost. Got in there well before. We didn't dilly dick around and stop at Wesco and get donuts or anything.
We did.
And but we got in there well ahead of time. Got set up, and the birds started gobbling right off the bat. I mean, and it was like, just, I mean,
I believe the term is hammering.
yeah,
They
were hammering, and there was a ton of them. It was like, and I actually got some pretty good footage of, like, later in the week when the birds. I just put the camera up and pointed it towards that ridge.
When they're flying down.
And you just see them flying down.
Oh, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, before I even see them flying down, I was like, what is that moving? And it's just a line of turkeys walking. And another one flies down, and you can see it. And another one, and they're just all over milling around up in there. But so when the birds flew down, we started calling a little bit, and it sounded like they went away.
Yeah, this was like, again, another one of these small, I think it's like a 15-acre piece of private, and it's surrounded by private, and the birds flew down, and they were gobbling, like, it sounded like they were away, or they were going the other way, and we were like, well, they're going to come back here at some time, so we'll just hang out.
Yeah. So we're just sitting there drinking coffee and bullshitting. And I'm like facing the field. Adam's facing me. And
Well, because I'm set up to draw my bow. My bow's
Yeah.
hanging from a hook in the center, and it's like 2 inches off the ground.
Yeah,
because it's
so-
66 inches long. And so I'm facing John, like to shoot out the window. And I got my coffee cup on my knee, I'm drinking coffee, and we're just joking around. And this is one thing I have to say, and I feel like I've said this 100 times to like everybody that I've explained this story to or whatever, but I feel so terrible for like the guys in the South that really take turkey hunting like super seriously, because we're just in there farting around, just.
Well, I got, well, once the birds, okay, before the shot or whatever. So the birds fly down. We're, they're gobbling, but you can just hear that they're working away from us. And finally I was like, dude, I got to go take a shit. So I jump out and I run, sneak over to the ridge, do my business, come back. And I was like, all right, man, we're good. And then we're just sitting there bullshitting. And
it was still pretty early, but the sun was up and it was like, it wasn't dark or anything like that.
Yeah. And, so like all of a sudden, I mean, like right on the edge of the field, because like Adam's in front of me and that side of the blind was kind of closed, but then there's a big tree right there too. And it's kind of brushy to my left. And then the field is to the right, to my right, and all of a sudden I look and here's a turkey. I mean, like 10 yards right behind Adam. I'm like, there's a bird right there. And he just keeps looking at me, like drinking his coffee, like I'm bullshit. I'm like, no, there's a bird right there. And then he puts his coffee down, like, and I get the camera on, get out, and it was actually so close I was afraid to turn on the Tacticams because of the buzz. Because there was one right next to the tree that he walked out by, and it was like, they all three turned on. I'm like, oh shit. Well, and he was like, he came right in mad.
Yeah.
He was acting all tough. The video was like awesome. I love how he come in and he's like, he gets all tough and he does like his feet, stomps his feet, and then he hits him with his wing and he pecks him in the eye and shit. And I'm like, oh man. And Adam's like getting ready to draw. And then,
well, the way that we were set up is, again, like when I shot the decoy, and if anybody shoots a decoy, slime will help with that. We figured that out. We filled the decoy with slime, and
I told you it'd work.
So just a pro
Another
tip there
tip from Uncle Frank.
that's the Avian X.
Yep. So, but we set it up, and they don't ever come in right exactly to the decoy like that. I mean, I guess they did last year, but your setup was offset. Well, so I was shooting those giant Magnus bullheads, and the decoy was right in this center V, which is smaller, and it was like, because it's right on one of those hubs, it was up a little bit higher, and it was like right in front of me. And so I've got the bow like in front of me, and I'm like looking at the last thing I want is to draw back and have that bottom blade hit that hub. And then, I mean, what I did was bad, but that would have been just like, like reconcilable or whatever. And so, I mean, I'm looking through that center deal, like trying to figure out, and you can see me on the video because like we've got a Tacticam in the camera, like facing John and I, and I've got one on my head. We've got one facing the decoys, and then John's got the main camera, and the main camera footage again, just like last year. And I don't know if it's because of the light or because of like how close they are. I mean, at 4 feet, it's pretty good, easy to get like a really good video. But the video is just awesome. And I'm like tight stringing this bird, and I'm like trying to figure it out. And I mean, it is a lot like, go back through our Instagram and look. There's a video of a laser beam going by John's eyes, and they're huge. And John's looking at the camera, and he's looking at this bird, and he's kind of like looking at me. And it's all happening like right, in our faces.
Yeah.
So
then finally I'm like, that bird kind of comes around, he pecks him and like hits him with his wing, and he turns around and he kind of walks over closer to your side. So I think you ended up shooting out the left window.
Yeah,
right?
I did.
And yeah, so he got out there, and all of a sudden I see Adam, like I'm like watching the screen. I can't really see the bird past the camera. I mean, I'm just watching the screen, but I can see all the stuff in my peripheral. Adam's like pulling back, and all of a sudden it's like, and and Adam's like falling back to the back of the tent. I'm like, so I thought,
Recoil.
well, I thought what happened was as he was like getting ready, because the shot happened. I know you shoot fast with the trad bow, but it just seemed really fast. Like I thought at that point you drew back, and as you were drawing back, the chair tipped, and like you just like let go. But that's in my periphery. I wasn't watching, and I seen the arrow, or it just like poof, flew over the top.
Well, I feel like there's a couple of things, and you can probably attest to this too, because if you watch our video of John's hunt last year, John drew back on that turkey and held back for like, I don't know how long, probably over a minute. And he's moving around and he's down on his knees and he's bobbing and weaving. Well, obviously with the traditional bow with no let off, you can't do that. And I'm just kind of looking at this thing, but I think the thing that I guess when I'm shooting at the target or when I'm shooting at the, I ended up shooting the head off of the decoy because that's what I was using as my target for that, is the actual movement of the bird. Because, this bird is pecking at this decoy and he's bobbing and weaving and jumping. And I'm not saying that this turkey ducked and that's why I missed. I completely missed him. But at this point, I'm like really just thinking I need to get him over out of this left side window. And then he got over there. He kicks the decoy or whatever. And then he puts his head up and I'm like, oh, this is my chance. And you can see on the video, like I draw back and I like lean forward to grab my anchor point. So I didn't really get drawn back. And then I just shot like at his head, but I didn't pick a spot. I just shot to like an area and it just zips right over his head. But when I did that, I like picked my head up and then the chair went out from under me. I draw back, I fall back, my arms hit the tent. I go, fuck. And you can hear it like on the video, like the whole thing. And then I just look at John and we're just laughing. And that's why I feel so bad. Like for people that really take this serious, because I feel like we're taking it seriously, like it's not like,
but you're enjoying it too.
Oh,
that's the thing.
Like we were just in there,
and
giggling.
I love you telling them stories like that. You know what I mean?
But he stuck around though. He alarm putted, and I quick got the call, and
I knocked another arrow.
Yeah, he knocked another arrow
with a larger head.
No, with
a shred head.
Well,
yeah, the shred head. Yeah,
I thought maybe you would get a bigger head.
But then, so he goes out, and I keep calling, and he's stuck around. He ended up gobbling and everything else, and he kind of like started working his way back, and then he started working off a little bit. Well, then all of a sudden,
this real hen
come in behind us, just like she did for us last year, and I'm like, she goes walking right down the 2-track behind us, so that the trail, and so she's just, and I was like, trying to copy what she was doing, and then it's just like a whole row of gobblers. Just, I mean,
that was really intense.
Did you hear
cool.
that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was crazy.
Well, that happened, but the whole time we didn't cut off the Tacticams, and the Tacticam is looking like down this field, down this like gas line. And it's so awesome. Like the sun is up. You see this hen go by, and you see there must have been, I think there was 8 jakes. And then you said you saw the longbeard back there up on the ridge, fanned out. But I mean, John would hit the call, and it was like like everywhere. Like it was insane. And it was definitely different groups of turkeys. But that Tacticam's got them coming out with the light behind them and everything.
That's cool.
And then coming back and
then
gobbling.
they start strutting, and they get out in that field. So then they're down there, and they're gobbling, and they kind of cross that opening. Then all of a sudden, that's when.
Well, these turkeys were 50 yards away, so I get on my phone. And I'm like live streaming like to the Marco Polo group. These birds are just gobbling because we're surrounded. And, there's guys on there that, haven't heard turkeys gobble in the real life and all this stuff. And so I'm just like dinking around because they're 50 yards away. I just missed one at 5 feet. Like, that's kind of out of my range.
Then all of a sudden, right behind us again, they're like, I hear the footsteps. I'm like, there's birds right here, right here. And they come walking around the edge of the tent, and they're like, 3 of them. And
I set my phone
he
down.
goes and set his phone down, and it's like, ka-clank! And I'm like, what the
Why?
fuck?
I set it down, and it slid down and hit the thermos, and went tink. And those birds just did an about face and just went.
They were just like, whoop, what the hell was that? And they just turned around.
Those birds had 1/4 inch beards, though. Those ones were.
Those were the 3 that came in that day I flung an arrow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So we hunted the rest of that day. We hunted quite a while, like till like 2. Well, yeah, that's what was messed up.
We went up to the other spot.
Well, so it's all coming back to me now. This is fun. So we left there about 2:00.
Yeah.
And we went and got lunch, and then we seen you guys at Burger King. We went back to Frank's house to get the.
That's because we ran out of donuts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we went to get my tent.
We went to get your tent, and
Right.
they were coming back to his
Get my
house to
tent.
get your
We
tent.
were coming back to get his tent too.
So we messed around there for a long time and watched Frank miss, and I showed him like my misses, and we went up to this piece of public, and we pull in there. Well, actually, we drove around on the backside of the public, and there was hens everywhere, like
Yeah.
lone hens picking gravel. And then we start driving down the 2-track, and you go,
Right here's where they cross, right up here, and then there's one cross.
a big old long beard, like right
yeah.
there in the road.
And I'm like, I know where they go. They go back in, just like that when we did that same thing last year.
Right.
And so I'm like, instead of cutting up that way, we're going to go down it farther, and there's a footpath that goes in. And I know that the footpath, it's like they have mountain bikes that ride it and stuff like that. And I'm like, I've never seen anyone else on it. So we go down that, and it goes right down into this little opening where these birds go. And so we sneak down in there, we get all set up, and we're sitting there, we're set up, we're calling, and it must have been what?
But why I was saying it was funny is because we were setting up, and we say, hey, where's the camera that we stick in the ground? Did you grab that one?
Oh.
No, I didn't grab that one. I didn't grab it either, so it was still stuck in the ground at the other spot. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's because we moved the tent.
yeah.
We moved the tent, and then now we're moving the stuff back and forth. And then instead of walking back to the tent to get that, I walked back over to the original spot, cutting across, and I was like, fuck, I'm the cameraman. I forgot the camera. But so we're dinking around like, oh shit, we're down a camera. And then anyway, we're sitting there, and we're just doing some blind calling, hoping that bird will work its way over to us. And all of a sudden I'm like, did you hear that voice? Like, thought I heard a woman's voice. And sure enough, all of a sudden here comes a cackling hen, and it wasn't a bird, And these 2 women were walking that trail with their dog. And what was funny is we're sitting there, and I didn't call anymore, and I never say anything. I'm looking out the back window, and they're just talking, and we're only like 5 yards off this freaking
The trail.
the footpath.
Yeah.
And finally the lead girl stops, and she's like looking at the tent, and I can see them. They can't see me, and she's all pointing at it like, and then the woman in the back's like, oh, and they're like looking at our decoys out in front. And finally the one's like, is there anyone in there? I'm like, yep. Oh, we're sorry. I'm like, that's all right. It's public land. I mean?
So then we're trying to figure out what to do. We're like, are we going to go this way? Are we going to go this way? So then we drove around by like the state park where we know there's birds over there, and my cousin lives over by the state park. But where I was assuming that we'd go in like a back entrance, and we drove by like the main entrance, and it was like 75 degrees, and there's people at the beach, and like it was just chaos. So we're like, well, let's go back and get the other camera. Well, so we go back and get the other camera. I think we set up there for a little bit.
Yeah, because those three Jakes come back through.
Yeah, but when we were leaving, we looked and there was a dusting bowl that John had stepped in right within bow range of where we were hunting. And it was all freshened up, and there was turkey feathers laying all over.
Yeah, because I stepped on it on purpose. Like
Yeah.
when we left, I was like, I walked through it, and I was like, oh, dusting bowl, and I, put my footprints in it. And we got back, they were gone.
Oh, yeah.
And then when we got back to the truck after that, because we called them these Jakes, and they come by, and do you think they must have seen us? Oh, no, we were on the phone with Frank. And we just got done talking to Frank, and John looks out the back window, and there's 3 Jakes standing there. And they never made a sound, but they ended up walking off. When we get back up to the truck after that, when we just called it a day, John left the big camera down there laying in the...
Yeah. Like, shit, I left the camera down there. That's when I didn't go back to the tent.
Yeah.
Was that one.
Yeah.
So that
And
was
then-
the first day.
That was the first day. And I don't remember what did we do on Sunday. What was the...
Sunday we went back to the same spot.
There wasn't much going on, though, was there?
It was really cold.
Yeah,
Turkeys
really
probably
cold.
figured they'd had enough of that shit.
Oh, that's
the day
right.
before.
Because them turkeys, they did fly down, and then they just went the other way, and they just kept on going because, we ended up. I got out and I went and looked, and there's big green fields, and
Yeah, they just disappeared that day.
Yeah. that we might have just hunted that morning, but then that was kind of it for me. I went back there and hunted a couple of evenings, and the second evening the last night I didn't see anything, but the on Thursday I went out there and I got set up, and all I did was just some clucks and light purrs and nothing. And then I think it must have been that sound that you were talking about, because I was thinking about that when you said it was like the gobbler clucks.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was sitting there and I heard these. It wasn't putting. It was really loud, just single, notes. And I was like, there has to be a turkey over there. But where I had the tent set up, this property, there's a ridge, there's a field down to the right, and then there's kind of this one little ridge, hump. And these turkeys were using the high area. They were coming down this 2-track or using this little ridge, but it all kind of culminated right on this one bump. And that first day, every single turkey that we saw, no matter where the tent was, no matter what was going on, they were on that, except for that first one. But he had to have come down that high point, but we just couldn't see him because of that tree. So that's where I was set up. And so I was it was in the evening, and I've never hunted turkeys really in the evening and never had turkey success, but I knew that they roosted right there within eyesight. I mean, it's got to be maybe 100 yards, 150 yards,
Right,
something like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, they're going to be by here somewhere. And I was hearing that noise, and I was just kind of calling, just really lightly. And then all of a sudden I looked up and I just saw a turkey. And so I just gave him a couple real soft yelps, and I seen the red head and I seen the fan. And it's funny because there's a 2-track there, and then kind of where your bird died last year, there's that brush line.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was back in there behind that brush line and came right through it at full strut, came right through that brush. And he must have just walked through that field and down. He never came over to my decoy, and I only had the hen decoy out there. But he never gobbled, never made any sort of sound. And then he just walked off. And so I waited probably an hour, and then I got out of the tent and I snuck down and around, and it was pretty windy, so they couldn't hear me. And I had done it when I set up the tent a few days before season. I can see there's this little grass field where you guys had seen the birds last year, Frank and Ernie. And so I just kind of snuck down there, and I could see that the birds were there, and I could get them to gobble once I was closer, but I couldn't draw them over to me. There was nothing, but that bird must have been over there, and that's probably what I heard was that gobbler clucking. And then since I didn't call anymore or anything, he was just kind of milling around over there, kind of looking, and just kind of worked his way.
And sometimes you'll find that'll be a lesser bird too. I mean, they're not going to gobble. If they've had their ass beat a few times.
Well, and that's what I was looking at, that particular bird where John said it was a Jake, but when he was strutted up, he didn't have he had a full fan, and he had it was like what Ranella calls like the power Jake, like a 4-inch, 5-inch beard straight out.
Yeah.
Those other ones had
nubs.
just tufts coming out. So, that may have been, the medium bird, a lesser bird in the group, and that's why he was going to go beat up our quarter strut, half strut Jake there. But I got the video, I got the camera on him and everything, but he just only stayed out in that field, and it was like, if I'd have just left the tent like where it was, but we might have had the same thing happen where they saw the tent and didn't like it. I don't know. But
I think at that point, I know they're not the smartest, animals, but they definitely start keying in on, they start getting educated.
Yeah, and like I said, that's why I feel bad for you. But so that was basically my season. But between Sunday and Thursday, you had hunted a few days.
So I went out one more morning there. I think it was one more. Yeah, because it was like crappy. That Monday was cold and nasty. I think I went out Tuesday. And I got out in there, and like I said, they were gobbling. They were out. That's when I got all that footage of them flying off the roost. And they did the same thing. They all sound like they all went to the west. And one hen, though, all of a sudden come walking down. Like, came right down the 2-track where my bird died. And she cut right across the field. And she was just doing some light clucking and whatever, just walked on through. She seen the decoys. Didn't really, pay attention, just kept on going. Then, a little while after that, I had a bearded hen come through behind me quietly. Like, I just, turned around and looked, and all of a sudden there was a bird. I'm like, shit. If I would have been paying attention, I could have got that back window open possibly and got a shot at her. But then the birds kept gobbling. But it was like they were way down there. Then all of a sudden they started coming in closer. And then I had them, they were like out in that green field. They got closer. Then I ended up having those 3 Jakes come through. And they came right down, and I'm pretty sure it was the same 3 Jakes that you had spooked.
The coffee cup Jakes?
Yeah. Because they come through, and they weaved right in, and they were only like 10 yards from me, but they were right in that little brush. But I didn't want to kill a Jake. I was like, I don't, especially one of those little paintbrush, dudes. But they sat there, and then they turned, and I had ranged out into the field. There was like a little pothole, and I was like, earlier I'd ranged it. It's like 20 yards. I'm like, well, the first one walked through, and then the second one, I'm like, well, if that third one stops like right there, I'm going to I'm going to try to shoot him in the head at 20 yards. And I'm not shooting the guillotines this year. I'm shooting just the regular broadhead.
Right.
I'm shooting a 3-blade split fire, so it's an expandable. And I put the muzzy backer on it, and I didn't weigh. I know it was like close to those are close to 25 grains. And I hadn't set that bow up. I just put the other limbs on it, or no, actually, I was using my Hoyt. So I hadn't even shot that setup, except for I was sighting it at 12 yards, 10 yards, and then 8 yards, and so I was dialed in for that. And never really shot it out past that, but I was like, well, it's not going to be that much different. But so that bird got out there and he stopped right in that open. I'm like, well, all right. And the other ones are enough away that I didn't think they could see me. But as soon as I started drawing back, the lead one, he went into putt, alarm mode. And I was like, holy shit. I finished drawing back. And so that the lead one and the second one, they started turning, they turned around in that field. We're going to go back the other way. Well, the last one that I was shooting at, he just kind of stopped. He didn't know what was going on. And so I just put my pin on his head and And when I shot, I don't even like he just like turned a little bit or whatever, but the arrow dropped way more than I thought, and it ended up like 3 or 4 cut some wing feathers off him or whatever. But and I was just like, I think you can actually see it in the film. I'm like kind of chuckling like, and he ran off and then they took off, and those other birds kept gobbling. They got actually closer. They were like right over the edge where I couldn't see them. And I'd call, gobble. Finally, I'm like, it was getting late, and I had to get, like I couldn't sit there all day. So I even did like a little interview. I'm like, I'm going to do like a slingshot. I'm going to get out of the tent. I'm going to call my way back to over the ridge, and then quick run back and get in the tent. So I did that. As soon as I got back in the tent, I zipped it all up. And I'm not kidding you, all of a sudden them birds, and then I shut up. I didn't call anymore. All of a sudden I look, and here comes a hen. And she's walking right down, and she walks right up like to me. Like you can see it perfect in the video. She comes in, and she's like 10 yards right there, and then she like sees the decoys and stuff, and then turns and then just goes over towards the ridge behind me. I'm like, perfect. And I could hear the other birds, and I could see them. They were coming. I'm like, oh man. And the first 2 were longbeards. And then they were followed with like 3 jakes. But they stayed over on the trail. They didn't follow hers. So they come right down the edge where I didn't have a shot.
And so you only had the hen decoy out? You didn't have the...
No, I had both.
Okay.
And so they got into that opening and looked right, and then there was like both the longbeards were like, you could see they seen something. I don't know if it was the tent or me in the tent, but like I said, I had that window closed on that side. So, but they stopped, and then they just turned and like they actually walked away down that ridge or like onto that dike down there, and I was like, shit. So at that point, I'm thinking what they were going to do is go down. They're going to follow where that hen went. So there was like a perfect opening on the backside. So I'm like, I opened up that window and I let that one down. So I'm like, I could get a shot right there. And I turn around sitting, all of a sudden, like in the video, you can see where I'm behind all of the windows. And all of a sudden, I see a head pop up and he putts. I'm like, what the hell? And he turns and he starts going back the way they came. I'm like, well, shit. He's going to walk out in that opening. So I drew back. As soon as I drew back, he was like, pop, 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 pop. and then the other ones, I didn't see them so they stayed below the ridge and then popped back up. And then they just, wandered off into the edge of that field. But I think at one point we had 3 other jakes come in. That was that night. They come in across. They're going back to roost.
Yeah.
That was the deal. So then one other day I went up to one morning I went up to the public land. And that same thing. I seen hens. Got set up to where Frank, you called in
Bob Evans.
Bob last year. Bob Evans down on the farm. So I got set up there. I didn't have any decoys or anything. Those were back at the other setup. Threw up my blind up in these little jack pines. I had some good cover and everything, and blind call, and finally I was probably there for an hour and a half, 2 hours. One gobbled right down below me. I'm like, sweet. And that was like the route. That's the route that bird that we seen. They go right up that opening and then they cut across. And so I just like shut up. Didn't hear him, waited. Finally, I gave a couple more calls and he was like out towards the road the other way. Like, well, shit. Waited for a little bit, called some more, and then all of a sudden he was back there. Like he was down on that other 2-track just walking back and forth. And then so I just gave it probably another hour and never heard him again and didn't see him. So then that was the end of it for me.
So like for the season overall, or for guys that are still in their seasons or guys that are just starting out and they haven't had any success or aren't hearing birds or whatever, like what takeaways would you have for our hunt, like from our season, that you think could be helpful, whether it's blind setup, your slingshot,
Well, definitely, like, I think our decoy setup, I like that quarter strut Jake. I mean, you seen that Jake come in and he was whooping up on him. The Toms last year whooped up on him.
the one that when I shot the decoy, he was coming in to do the same
He
thing.
whooped up on him.
Yeah. And so I think that, like, that decoy and a good hen.
Well, we had that decoy last year when you got yours.
You had the big one.
No, not last year when he.
Because we had different seasons.
Yeah, when Ernie shot his.
Oh no, because we had it.
We had it.
You had that big ugly.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you had the big full strut Tom because we had the Avian X with us, and then I shot mine that evening. We had it set up when we roosted. We set up underneath their roost.
Oh yeah, maybe you did.
And yeah,
Then did we? I don't think we had that big Tom decoy.
I don't
did we?
remember
Yeah,
the long
you
full
did.
strut.
you had the big Tom
We'll have to
decoy.
look at the video.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go.
But that
But I think that, and then as it gets like progressively into the hunt, I think they could become educated to them decoys and stuff because after that they didn't want anything to do with them.
Well, and then if you're going to hunt multiple areas, though, your decoys might work,
Right, but working in the same.
But in the same situations, once they see them once or twice, I think they're getting wise on that.
That and then they definitely like my tent or the ones that are all blacked out.
Right, blacked out inside.
Because after reviewing that footage, I was like, "Holy shit!" No wonder why
Oh,
the
yeah.
bird spooked because you can see my silhouette in there. And I had an idea that it was like that. I knew it was like that. Obviously, it's lighter in there,
Right.
but I didn't realize how much you could see through both of them.
Well, that Tacticam footage is unbelievable. I mean, as far as
Right?
I see Johnny in there just like you're sitting in a chair,
Yeah. It's like, hey,
But there's
Look at that clown.
another thing we need to address too. I think is sound deadening containers.
yeah. Yes,
rubber
I was
coated thermos.
I was thinking about the
cups. Chairs.
More
that-
stable chair.
Yeah, more chairs that don't fall over.
stealth
Yeah.
strip and the
Yeah,
thermos.
Yeah,
And I've seen guys do that too.
Yeah.
But again, I just think I just feel so bad for people that like think that it's just like a joke to us. Like this is serious stuff. Like it's just so much fun.
Well,
And-
here's the thing. How many years have they had turkey seasons in Michigan? Since back in the 70s, right? Okay. Tom and I hunted the very first season in Michigan. We got permits, and I've hunted them ever since then, and called for people, and how many different things have I done, and the last couple of years I've enjoyed more, the stuff we've been doing, and
it's brought the fun back into it.
yeah, before how many?
I actually quit hunting.
Okay, how many birds?
Me too.
I haven't hunted for several years.
How many
till
birds would we have
started
killed
filming.
this year if we were shotgunning?
All of them.
All of them.
Every one of them. Last year, every one of them. You know what I mean?
You got three or four with one shot.
Year before too. I mean, like
Yeah.
ever since we started this, we would have been all tagged out.
Oh my God, we've had so many opportunities, and I've watched some crazy shit go on. You know what I mean? I've watched my son-in-law, who was an ace shot, turns him right into the old Falinga.
But I think again, as like a takeaway for me, I think I just feel like either you have to have more spots, and maybe this translates to deer hunting too, is that being on private like this, I feel so constrained. Like, yeah, the birds are there, but I have nowhere to go.
Right.
So, like, once they've gone, I either just have to wait them out or...
What was our tactics before? It was always run and gun.
Yeah.
Run and gun. And I, a lot of times never use decoys, I would do the thing that Johnny and I he was just talking about. I set you guys up. Turkeys aren't coming. I'm going back 100 yards. You know what I mean?
That's where I
I'm gonna
learned
go
it
over
from.
there 100 yards, or I'm going to go. I'm moving around. So finally, all of a sudden, those turkeys are thinking, "Man, that thing's going away." So then they come.
Well, that just showed up on my Facebook feed. Today's date, May 9th, was when Casey killed her bird, 8 years ago. So, but 2 days ago was when I called that bird in for my dad, and he killed it. And where that was. It was right where I killed that longbeard, but I was on the tote road, and he was out there in that field.
Right.
And I was just crawling down that road, calling my way back, and it drew that turkey close enough so I must have been 150 yards from my dad by the time he shot him.
Were you in front of me that day, though?
Yeah, probably 80 yards.
Yeah, that's the day the snake went up your leg. Wasn't
No,
it?
a different day.
Was that a different
snake,
day?
Yeah, that snake went up my shoulder, went up my body. But yeah.
But yeah, he was probably 80 yards from me that day. And I was going to give it up.
It was hard to tell. I was sleeping.
Yeah, he sounded asleep. And I had called for,
Oh yeah,
I said, I know where this turkey's going at him, so we got over there, didn't we? And set up, and we were a long ways away from him too, weren't we?
Oh,
and
yeah.
And I kept calling, and nothing. I never got a response, Finally, I'm sitting in this old deer blind on this tree line, and I thought, I'm going to get up, So I get up part way, and I'm looking right down the edge of this field. There's a turkey strutting right there, in the plowed field coming this way. And I'm going, I just ease back down, and I'm sitting there a little bit, and I thought, I'll keep calling, So all of a sudden I see turkeys out in front over here, and we had one or two decoys out.
Oh, we had a flock of decoys.
Did we?
It was, oh yeah.
So anyways, I'm looking out in front, and there's turkeys. So they were going in the woods on the other side too, weren't they? And I thought, oh man, I said this is bad,
I woke up to turkeys at my feet.
Oh yeah,
I woke up.
They were walking in front of them and stuff, coming right up to them, the hands, And the top never did gobble though, did he?
No,
not once. And I'm going like, man, when is he gonna shoot? Well, you had to wake up first, see,
Well, I had this little tree in front of me, and I was just kind of letting them come, and then finally I was like, okay, well, as soon as he gets right, pat. I couldn't even hold back my own self. I was like what I got now, with the target panic or whatever, just got a quick straw McGraw.
Yeah. Kind of like what happened with that first, that big one up there in the decoy.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the same thing, same story. It's different, but yeah. So again, for takeaways for guys that are trying to go. I mean, I guess this week I'm going to take my wife out and trying to get her on a bird, and I think I'm really going to use some of the tactics that we talked to, with TJ, about trying to figure out where I'm going to go out the night before and figure out where these birds are roosted. I know there's birds there. Go out on public, set my tent up, and get set up, and she's going to be using shotgun, so I'm just going to dust one.
I think my takeaway is let's not all get the same season.
Yeah. I would agree with you there. One, it's different for you guys because you don't have to go to work. So for me,
well, I'd still rather have two hunts than one.
Well,
yeah,
we had one hunt where we both carried bows, so I just didn't think that was. After doing it a few days, I'm going, wait a minute, this is. I think we can do better.
Yeah, well, I think we got last year. You and I both tagged out the first on opening day, and we had the whole, the rest of that week, and then we were seeing birds. So it was that, that's when we were like, man,
didn't we?
I think that was.
Didn't we then
the
buy
reason
that?
Why we tried this?
Buy that next hunt or something?
You could have.
We could have, right? But we had the next week.
We had the next week.
Yeah. Chose not to.
I also think that we were so. I don't know if we were just so geeked up on hunting, or we're normally hunting the public. Well, John forgot when the season was even started. So he was like, "Oh yeah, hey."
But I haven't even got my bow ready.
But I think that I think that we were so worried about wanting to get on these birds early and blah blah blah, and that's more like what we do when we hunt highly pressured public land, when we're hunting these little properties, those deer or those turkeys aren't getting messed with at all. So
No.
they are. I mean, we're the only ones that are educating them at this point. So.
Right.
So I guess I would take that into consideration too. And for a lot of guys that only hunt here in Michigan, like the public or private land, like that ZZ hunt is the entire season. So, but yeah, like I said, I wanted to just kind of go through our hunts and more of my failures. If you're gonna fail big, and we got a really awesome video to edit up and get that out for you guys. So. But I think that's kind of all we got for this evening. So, thanks for listening.